David Hertel in for Aaron. Well, artificial intelligence is becoming more and more part of our lives, but there's a serious question out there that is yet to be resolved. It's what is the legal status of artificial intelligence? What happens, legally speaking, when artificial intelligence screws up? We've seen certain instances recently. More to come for sure. And a very interesting book has just come out, written by our next guest, who wrote it also with another author. His name is Nicolas Vermeys. He's the director of the Public Law Research Center, deputy director of the Cyberjustice Laboratory, and professor at the Faculty of Law at University of Montreal. He's the author of the book Responsabilité IA, artificial intelligence, du droit québécois de la responsabilité civile à l'égard de l'intelligence artificielle. Professor Vermeys, thank you very much for your time this afternoon.
It's a pleasure to be here.
So you wrote this with?
I wrote this with my colleague Marie-Ève Lacroix, who is a professor at the University of Ottawa.
All right. So what's interesting, there's a little play of words in the La Presse article that I read mentioning your book. So it's sort of a ULO, an unidentified legal object. Explain.
Well, the acronym isn't our creation. It's something that's regularly used in the legal field to describe basically something that has not been thought of by the legislator, right? The government hasn't really addressed it legally, and so we're not sure exactly how to qualify it legally.
And so what's the situation right now, though? Because artificial intelligence is here. It is being used frequently. So yet again, as usual, the legal system is trying to play catch up. So what is the current lay of the land in terms of trying to understand what happens when artificial intelligence causes a damage to somebody, for example?
Yeah. So playing catch-up, yes and no. I mean, there are efforts right now, both at the federal and provincial levels, to adopt new legislation regarding artificial intelligence. But the general laws that already apply regarding liability in Quebec in particular still apply to artificial intelligence. So we have one section in our civil code, which is the overarching law here in Quebec, that says that basically the custodian of a thing, so whoever controls a thing, is responsible for the autonomous acts of that thing. So if, for example, I have a flower pot on my balcony and there's a gust of wind and that flower pot falls on somebody's head, well, I'm liable, right? I'm the custodian, I'm the owner of that flower pot, I'm the one that had control over it, and I didn't secure it properly. Well, the argument that we make in our book is that, well, that same disposition applies to artificial intelligence. And so if I put an AI system out there that causes harm to somebody else, then I'm liable. And there was actually an interesting case last week out of British Columbia where that's exactly what happened. Air Canada, on its website, offers a chatbot, which is a form of artificial intelligence, and its chatbot gave somebody wrong information. And so Air Canada was found was found responsible for that erroneous information.
So same question arises with an autonomous vehicle. I think there was such a question, and the courts have already reacted to this type of incident.
Well, that has been the case in the U.S. In Quebec, autonomous vehicles, for now, there are different levels of autonomous vehicles, but truly autonomous vehicles are not allowed on Quebec roads. But in the U.S., there was a case with a car that belonged to Uber. And basically the car hit a pedestrian that was actually jaywalking with their bicycle, and the car mistook somebody pushing their bicycle for somebody who was actually riding a bicycle. So it didn't understand what was going on, and so it sent a signal to its backup driver, the person that was behind the steering wheel but not actually driving the car, to say, look, take control of the vehicle. And in this case, the courts, the prosecution here didn't go after Uber. They didn't go after Volvo, which was the car manufacturer. They went after the person who was the backup driver, saying, you are the guardian, the custodian, the one who had control over the car and over the AI, and you should have taken control. That case is still in front of the court, so we don't know exactly what's going to happen. But the position that was adopted by the prosecution was very clear, and is the human being that's behind the wheel, even if they're not actually driving at that particular time, who's responsible.
So, moving on to what is commonly called the large language models, right? The LLMs that are the basis of artificial intelligence systems, like, for example, ChatGPT, which is one of the best known out there. Now, let's say I go on ChatGPT based on the info I'm getting from ChatGPT. I do something, whatever, and ultimately it's wrong, and I undergo serious damages. Does that mean I have some sort of recourse against Microsoft and OpenAI?
Well, in this case, it's different because you actually have a contract with OpenAI. When you use ChatGPT, you actually accept the terms and conditions of ChatGPT, and those terms and conditions specifically state that you shouldn't take anything that is generated by the algorithm as true. And so if you rely on it, you're actually breaking your contractual obligations. So it's a little more complicated in those cases. Now, there's a big debate as to how valid these online contracts are, but that's not dealing with artificial intelligence in particular. That's just with online contracts in general. That, let's face it, when's the last time you read your Facebook terms and conditions, or when's the last time you read the terms of use for Google that you're supposed to read every time you do a word search? But if, for example, you use information that for yourself, for example, you ask ChatGPT to write an article on one of your guests or on a situation, and you use that in your broadcast to take up some airtime, and that happens to be false, then you're the one that's going to be liable because you didn't take the necessary precautions to ensure that the content that you took from ChatGPT was valid content.
So I gotta end soon, Professor. What is the most glaring hole right now in our legal system to face the challenges brought on by artificial intelligence?
Well, the issue comes back to the notion of custodian, right? It's the person who has control. And in certain cases, the ones I gave you, the ones we discussed, it's relatively clear who has control. But when you're talking about artificial intelligence, there are a lot of people who intervene, right? There's a person who'll build the algorithm, who'll develop it, who'll program it. And then you have the person who'll train it, and that person will train it based on a database or a data set that somebody else might have put together. So there are a lot of people in the chain and a lot of people who could be identified as the custodian. So the big problem right now is identifying, who's really at fault if an AI goes wrong.
All right. That's all the time I have. Professor Vermeys, thank you very much. Very interesting, and congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.